Yes, welcome, Loony listeners. You are listening to episode 62 of Into the Night, a Moon Knight podcast. It is the waxing gibbous, and so we have for you tonight a trade or arc review. We'll be looking at none other than Round Robin, a sidekick's revenge from the pages of Spider-Man. So, grab your issues, sit back, relax, and get your Khonshu on. Yes, welcome, Loony listeners. We are up to episode 62. I am your High Priest Rey, taking you through this episode. Unfortunately, Khonshu can't make it today. I've heard something along the lines of him meting out justice or exacting revenge or something. So he's on a little mission himself, but hopefully he'll be back for the later episodes coming. With that, though, we have a couple of really cool special guests for you, Loonies. None other than your fellow Loonies. First, I'll introduce Rick, the Rickball special. Hi, Rick. How are you?
I'm pretty great. Thank you very much.
Cool. It's good to have Rick back on the show. And not only that, we've got a bit of a 1-2 punch here. We also have returning on the show, no stranger, Josh Geronimo Johnson. How are you, Josh?
I'm good, man. It's good to be back again for the fourth time in like 3 months.
Yeah, excellent, Josh.
I'm sure people are sick of me already.
Oh, no, not at all. Exactly. I think Josh didn't realise how frequent he can make it on the show, which is fantastic. We definitely welcome it. And it's Rick's second time on the show, Rick. We last heard you on an Isla Ra all the way back. I can't remember the episode number, but we were at Jenna's Diner. It was quite a while ago. But how things been, Rick?
Good. Just work and comic books, like the usual.
It sounds very similar to our Isla Ra conversation. Yeah, but I mean, look, I don't know. You've caught a few movies, have you? I mean, you've checked out the new. I mean, to let Loonies know, Rick and I share the same LCS. We both go to King's Comics, which have now relocated from their spot, which they had for about 16 years, and they're now more in the centre of the city. So they're there temporarily, but it's always fun to have a different location. You mentioned, Rick, that you popped in there one time. You picked up a few juicy trades.
I only picked up one. It was just a little indie book called Infinity Countdown Darkhawk.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, have you read that, Josh?
I've read issues 2 through 4. I didn't read the first issue, so I don't remember how it started. But I read the end bit.
Yeah, what did you think of 2 to 4?
I thought it was good. However, I made the mistake of not going back and rereading like the one shot that came out in like November. So when I jumped into issue 2, I'm like, I have no idea what's going on. Right. I could have just went back and reread, but
yeah. No, I found it very impressive. Rick, some of the Loonies will know, is a massive Darkhawk fan. I think that's an understatement, isn't that, Rick?
Understatement.
But that is a fantastic trade. I remember reading it off the back of Rick's recommendation. And yeah, it is a really good read. And I think, Rick, you mentioned the same creative team are doing the upcoming Sleepwalker mini. Is that correct?
Continuation.
Oh, what do you mean?
If I don't want to spoil it, but something happens at the end of Infinity Countdown Darkhawk, and it leads into Sleepwalker.
Okay. Oh, all right. Fantastic. Oh, well, I mean, it's a good team. Sleepwalker has been away for so long, very 90s. And it's a pretty good trade to pick up, Rick. And it's very apt as well, because tonight we have a very cool arc review, which is Round Robin from the pages of The Amazing Spider-Man, issues 353 to 358, I think. Six-parter. And it has none other than Darkhawk there. No Sleepwalker though, so that's
breaks my heart.
I know. Well, we'll get into it, but it's such a '90s arc, isn't it? So I'm surprised he didn't show up. Josh as well. I noticed on the ITK Facebook group you made a pretty cool purchase yourself.
Yeah, I got the whole 6-issue Fist of Khonshu run. I had the issues 3 through 5 already, but I found it pretty cheap to get the whole run again. So I've actually been reading through that the past couple of days.
Ah, right, reacquainting yourself with that. I remember. Is it David Warner? I think it wrote it or drew it. One or the other. I think he was the Chris Warner. Chris Warner,
the artist.
Okay,
the writer is Alan Zelenitz.
Oh, okay, yeah. So sorry, not Dave Warner for the Aussie listeners there, not the Australian cricketer. I got it mistaken. Chris Warner
would be amazing though.
Would be. What a multi-talented guy. But yeah, so you're enjoying the reread, Josh?
Well, I had the issues 3 for 5, but I never read them because I wanted to get the whole thing. So yeah, I'm getting right into it. It is good. Obviously, it's different because it's more of like I guess you could say more like traditional superhero stuff. Like he does get like super strength and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So, which is kind of cool because you can just see him just punching guys like 100 feet.
Yeah.
Which is obviously not what we're used to, but it's kind of cool to see it that way.
Yeah.
So it's obvious.
Yeah.
Good.
No, sorry. No, go on.
I was gonna say so it's cool to see a different take on it. Like this is kind of like the most different from what we've all kind of read. Like he doesn't have like super strength and all the other stuff we've read. So kind of seeing him have that is actually kind of cool.
Yeah, it's kind of like a nice little snippet in his canon. I also remember he's got a lot of funky like gadgets, more Egyptian leanings. Like he's got I don't know if you come up with it yet there, Chris, but he's got that ank around his neck. He's got I think he's got the boomerang. He's got like an Egyptian boomerang. He's got these gold weapons, which are pretty funny, and there are still nods to it. You see it even in the latest runs. Whether you see it in his moon cave or not, they always do nod to it. So it's memorable, if not a very divisive arc, I guess. Rick, I'm assuming you've read this run as well.
I only read one issue. I've read the issue. I think it's issue 3 where he's fighting the pirate-looking guy.
Oh yeah.
I've actually read.
Yeah, it's been a while since
that was something.
And that's Morpheus is the 3rd issue. I think it's the 4th issue. I think.
Okay. And have you read? You're up to that, Josh, as well.
I'm currently reading the 3rd issue right now.
Oh, okay, 3rd issue. Sorry. Yeah, I'll be interested. I can't remember. It's been a while. I just can't remember what the hell that pirate has to do with anything. But who knows? It's a bit of a wacky run, so that's pretty good. Look, the past week as well, I've managed to I've recorded another Isla Ra, so Loonies, keep your ears out for that. That will be out, I think, next week or so. Very cool. It's our special guest there is Phil Perrich. For some of you may know, he's one of the hosts on Capes and Lunatics podcast, which is a collective member. So that was pretty cool. And a little side project. Look, I might give it a little plug now, and I'll probably play the ad anyway. We managed to record our first episode of Last Sons of Krypton, so I band together with another Connor from the Sons of the Dragon Immortal Iron Fist podcast, and we Connor's a massive Superman fan, so we go through Action 1000, I think, in the first episode. That's a big episode. So yeah, those are keeping me busy, as well as just life in general. But it's been pretty good. Also, just look, a bit of housekeeping as well, Loonies. Some of you again may have seen on the show, on the Facebook group. I don't know where it's come from, guys, but it's really good. We've got an influx of members. I counted in the past week alone, just from last week, we've got something like 70 members have come in, which is really cool. What it does mean, though, is we're unable to kind of welcome them. We used to welcome them individually. So I started doing that still, and just noticed that the ITK group was just flooded with images of Moon Knight, but welcomes to members, and I felt that some of the discussions and threads kind of get lost amongst that. So speaking to the other admins, so we have another couple of admins as well. We'll just bundle them together. We'll still kind of accept them all in, but there won't be like a post. There'll be like a group post every few days, so as not to clog up the thread. So just a little housekeeping there. Also, I just wanted to give a plug to the collective again. So Rick and Josh, I think I know Josh. We spoke about it not that long ago, but do either of you, listen to a lot of the other collective podcasts by any chance? Rick? Sorry, Josh. Yeah.
No, I actually don't know. Unfortunately, I like to get into some other ones, but I just haven't had the time to.
Yeah, no worries. And how about yourself, Rick?
On occasion, when I get the chance, I will listen to other ones.
Yep, no worries. Well, let me pitch this to both of you. The collective are doing really good work at the moment, and there are a couple of really interesting things happening, I guess. So, for instance, I was just scouring it, because I try to listen to as many of them as I can as well. Our good friends at the Defenders TV podcast, they're still reviewing the Netflix Iron Fist series. They also have a new segment called Strange Tales, which is really cool. So they're actually dipping into comic book reviews now. Very Doctor Strange-centric, because John's a huge Doctor Strange fan. But I've noticed the latest episode, they reviewed Web of Venom because of the Nick Fury appearance there. So Derek, one of the other co-hosts as well, he's a huge S.H.I.E.L.D. fan. They're doing great stuff. Atalan Rising, which is the Inhumans podcast, they've just recently released their 50th episode, which is an awesome milestone. Capes and Lunatics, who I mentioned earlier, they have a cool interview with Fabian Nicieza. Now, yeah, Rick, I'm sure that would have perked your ears up. Fabian, very synonymous with the 90s. Josh, are you familiar with Fabian Nicieza?
Oh, yeah, he, I think I know him because he did, the run on the New Warriors, I think.
Yes, yeah.
If I'm not mistaken.
And fantastic art by Mark Bagley, which again we'll get to with this awesome run. Rick, did you have a favourite Nicieza run, or what do you know him for? Yeah.
But I think my favourite one has to be his X-Force stuff.
Yes, yeah, he's pretty good with X-Force. And this interview, I had a listen, is really good. It's very insightful. So, guys, if anything, check out that interview from Capes and Lunatics. He's very forthcoming, but he's also very honest about the industry as well. So, a little bit of an eye-opener through the eyes of Fabian Nicieza. Also, massive, as I mentioned, Sons of the Dragon, Immortal Iron Fist podcast, hosted by Connor and the likes of Rebecca as well, and Carl. They have just interviewed the showrunner of Netflix Iron Fist, M. Raven Metzner, so that should be up soon. I believe it's not up at the moment, but I remember chatting with Connor, and it was a 5 o'clock in the morning interview he had with Raven, so that's hard. Yeah, Josh, that's what happens when you live in Australia, I guess. You've got to work to crazy hours, but he was stoked at it, and he told me he was very impressed. Connor wasn't the biggest fan of the show. Either of you guys watched the whole season already, or?
Yeah, I have.
Yeah. Rick, sorry, no from you?
I just can't.
Oh yeah, you weren't the fan of the first one, right?
I wasn't a fan. I was a little bit disappointed.
Yeah. Well, the second one is good. It's a lot better than I find a lot better than the first one. But there are a lot of how shall we say, controversial choices that Metzner has done. Josh, would you agree, or did you enjoy it?
Not that much. I kept hearing a lot of people say that it's so like it's really good and that like the villain is really good, and I did not agree at all.
As in Davos.
Yeah, I think a lot of it is just, even though this was shortened down to 10 episodes, which is nice, I still thought it was too long. Like I still think that the story they had, they still stretched it too long. Like they could have. I think they could have shortened this whole arc down to maybe 6 or 7 episodes.
Okay, right. Yeah.
And not as I'm not going to spoil anything, but just towards the very end, they have a little bit of a time jump.
Yep. Yes.
And then a little bit that happens after that. See, I think now what they could have, what would have been interesting is that they would have showed what happened in that time jump instead of just saying, "Oh, well, we've been doing this for how many months." Like that would have been more interesting.
Yeah, true. I mean, I saw it as a bit of a teaser as to we'll probably get a lot of that in the next season. You know, touch wood. Look, I did like Typhoid Mary. I thought she was really, really good. Again, I'm sure there'll be people saying, you know, she's not exactly like she is in the comics, but I think Alice Eve did a great job. But anyway, you know, pulling that back anyway. So Connor spoke to Metzner, the showrunner. Connor was very cynical, I guess, and you'd say disappointed at the season, but he came away with a better understanding after speaking with Metzner, knowing that Metzner actually is a huge Iron Fist fan, so he's got cred. So that's very comforting to know as well. Also as well, just finally, again from the collective, I just want to make mention the Signal of Doom, our good friends there with Dave and Stu. Dave's still in Hawaii. He's loving it over there. I'm sure sipping on cocktails and climbing volcanoes and stuff like that. But Stu released an episode, I think it's the latest episode, or one just recent, and it's basically just a round table of he and a couple of his mates playing, I think it's a card game or a role-playing game called Munchkin. Have you guys heard of that game? No, Rick?
I've seen it.
You've seen, yeah, I've seen the pack of cards as well. I see it at the store. I think it's I have no idea how it's played, but I thought it was a very interesting and innovative episode that they did. Like, so you're kind of like a fly on the wall in this card game that they play. So I'm gonna have to save my pennies and get a pack of Munchkin, I think. And yeah, I think you can expand the game by buying more cards, blah blah blah. But it looks pretty good. So, yeah. So anyway, the collective, we are part of them as well. So as always, we've got links to the collective. Please check them out. And guys, I hope at least maybe check out those interviews with Fabian Nicieza and Metzner. They're really good.
Oh, I will.
Yeah. Excellent. All right. Now, sorry guys, just going through another quick little bit here. Now, I've moved the spectacle up to an earlier segment, only because we have a bit of news as well. As you know, we have the likes of the Loonies. We have Rick yourself. We have Josh yourself from the Loony community joining in, and you know, absolutely welcome anyone to come on the show. We keep this podcast a communal thing, and we're so happy that another Loony member, Noel Tate. I've been chatting to Noel, and he's a guitarist and the lead singer of a band, actually, and they're called Deleter. And Noel had posted something up on the ITK Facebook group as well of his Bandcamp website for Deleter. Really cool music. And anyway, we'll be actually showcasing or using a lot of their music, thanks to their generosity, for the show. So can't wait to use it for, you know, the likes of Over the Moon, for Tommy's news segment coming up, and eventually we are looking at revamping our opening and closing theme. So exciting times ahead there. So I mean, we'll also have all the links to Deleter, the band, in our episode, and also in the ITK Facebook group and page. And, you know, what better way to get introduced to Deleter's music than a song itself? So Noel is a very big comic book fan. He tells me he's a big Moon Knight fan, of course, as big a fan of Spider-Man as well. So he's going to have his ears glued to the podcast here, guys. We're going to have to do good for round robin. But I'm just going to throw it to one of their songs. It's one of their singles from their latest album, Levitate the Pentagon. And it's the song's called Dr. Jonathan Osterman. Now, I'm going to throw it to Rick and then Josh. A little pop quiz. Does anyone pick up the reference there? No? Rick? No? How about you, Josh? Did you pick up Dr. Jonathan?
No.
Does it ring a bell? No? I think otherwise known as Dr. Manhattan. So reference to Watchmen. It's also got other tracks referencing, I think, the Cancerverse and the Watcher. So it's all pretty cool. So if you like comics and you like your music, you like good music, go check out Deleter. But in the meantime, just check out this song called Dr. Jonathan Osterman.
Touch with reality. What is reality? And lives in a world of illusions. Obviously, no one can say, by thoughts I mean specifically, chatter in the skull, because it isn't words. Perpetual and compulsive repetition of words, because it isn't words. Of reckoning and calculating. It isn't material, that's just an idea. I'm not saying that thinking is bad. Like everything else, is useful in moderation. And all so-called civilized peoples have increasingly become crazy and self-destructive because through excessive thinking they have lost touch with reality. What is reality? Reality is this. That's to say, we confuse signs, words, numbers, symbols, and ideas with the real world. This is a disaster.
Yes, that was a song from Delita, a band affiliated now with Into the Night, with the lead, the frontman Noel Tate. We're very glad to have as one of our loonies. So thank you, Delita. Please check them out. All right, guys, we are getting there. We are edging towards the review that we're all here for. Just one other final thing. We have a bit of news, and as always, we have a little regular segment from the words of Tommy, our man on the street. So I'm just going to throw it quickly to Tommy to give us the latest on Moon Knight news. Take it away, Tommy.
Loonies, it's the man on the street with the word on the street. Just today, Max Bemis tweeted what may be a bunch of nonsense, saying, "I called up my man Rich, master of that bleeding cool dump, to discuss the process that went into writing the last 2 Moon Knight issue. How it tied into quote-unquote leaving my band, as well as to drop hinty things about the graphic novel I'm whittling away at. Stay tuned." Of course, an interesting comment from Bemis as his Moon Knight run comes to a close. I do look forward to the potential article and interview, but Max Bemis' run on Moon Knight is all but confirmed with that comment. Paul Davidson, artist on Moon Knight issue 199 and previously on the collective issues, helped preview issue 199 on Twitter. Comicosity.com also has the full preview, including text and several pages worth of content. It looks spicy, but the man on the streets is a Wednesday warrior. I'm saving my surprises for a few days. Looking forward to the High Priest's discussion. In otherwise good news for all loonies, hardcovers of the Lemire, Smallwood, and Belair run of Moon Knight circa 2016 are shipping. Pick yours up through order at your local comic shop. Oversized, hardcovered, straight baller. As it goes, that's the word on the street from your man on the street. Keep your ear close to the ground, loonies, and an ever-watchful gaze on Khonshu's Eye of the Moon.
Yes, thank you, Tommy. That was a word on the street by your man on the street, Tommy. Another well-done segment. Guys, I wanted your thoughts on the Lemire hardcover. Intent on picking it up? Has anyone picked it up yet? Josh, have you got yourself a nice copy?
I just have the 3 individual trades.
Yep.
Usually once I have it in trade form, I usually don't buy the hardcover ones.
No.
Plus, they don't fit my shelf either. The hardcover ones. So.
Yeah, they're oversized, aren't they? But it's a good thing because Smallwood's art is awesome actually in it. That nice glossy paper and it's a little bigger. Rick, did you? What are your thoughts on this? You probably have multiple copies of this run anyway.
Honestly, I'm looking at it. I'm sort of tempted to buy it right now, but I got my overseas trip soon, so maybe after it.
Well, I tell you what, I'm surprised because Aussie dollars, please bear in mind loonies, it comes in at about $50, Rick. Or actually, with the discount at King's, it comes at even less, like $45. It's pretty cheap for a hardcover, and considering that's like
tempting.
Yeah, considering it's 14 issues, like that's a big amount of pages right there. So, don't want to draw you short for your trip overseas, Rick. But maybe try the lottery or something and get some bit more extra cash, extra coinage. And also, Tommy mentioned the preview, 199. Now, I spoke quickly to you guys. Not a fan of the previews. No one's read it. Josh, you steer clear.
Yeah, I like going in with a clean slate.
Yeah. So absolutely, you didn't peek at all. You didn't even flick through it.
Nope.
Yeah, I'm the same. Rick, yourself, did you manage to have a little cheeky peek?
I actually like going into a book, getting surprised by it.
Yeah. No, absolutely. Yeah, that's yes, Rick. Yeah, me too. Look, truth be known, I think Connor, out of both of us, he has a nice little look. I think he can't wait. I mean, he's a bright-eyed, bushy-tailed fella. You know, he's got the energy of youth. He's probably just probably keen to get it underway. So anyway, there is a preview of 199 released. I believe it was from CBR, I think. I will have a link anyway. Check it out if you want, but fear not. It's only a week away, so our next episode will cover the latest release for that. So don't worry. But that's basically the news that Tommy covered. Thank you, Tommy. Again, guys, a little short break, and we'll be right back for our Over the Moon.
All right. Well, let me ask you this then: if there was one comic character you'd want to spread the good word on, who would it be?
Look, that would have to be Superman. He is your bastion of good behaviour. Yeah, I reckon Soup.
I mean, I was going to say Moon Knight.
Moon Knight, he's alright. Moon Knight, he was the fight. A Moon Knight.
I think he's a really good role model, but whatever. Superman makes sense, I guess. Yeah, probably Superman then. Fine, I'll agree. Hi, I'm Connor, a fan of truth, justice, and the Australian way.
And I'm Ray, Lex Luthor sympathiser and Brainiac groupie.
And we're your hosts for Last Sons of Krypton, a Superman podcast where two Australians, one superfan and one newbie to Superman, cover everything, anything Superman. And it's going to be awesome.
We're even going to dress up as Superman.
I'll probably be more like Bizarro, but sure. So coming soon, make sure you guys keep an ear out.
Look forward to catching you then.
Whoosh!
Whee!
Hello, welcome back, everybody. You are here listening to the High Priest of Rey, as well as two awesome Loonies with us. We have Rick, the Rickball Special, and we have Josh Geronimo Johnson joining us. You are probably familiar with their voices, as they have been on the show before, but there is no better guests to have for our review of Round Robin, A Sidekick's Revenge, than these two guys. Josh, you actually hosted an ITK episode yourself with a good friend of yours not that long ago, and it was almost a Round Robin prelude, wasn't it?
That was the title I made up for.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
And basically it sows the seeds for this whole arc. I didn't realize till after the episode came out that in the couple following issues of that, there's a little bit, like a couple pages in between, like the next couple issues that sort of really sow the seed, like connect the end of that arc and the start of this one.
Okay.
But that's, I didn't think sorry. I didn't think it was important enough to bring up.
Yeah.
That's bring up again.
That's fine, and look, we'll get into it as well. Look, I've got to have a bit of a smirk at this run because of its age and stuff. But full credit, as you said, those issues that you covered could be seen as a prelude. But there's no shortage of reminders in this actual arc about storylines and everything. Synonymous with the 90s, there's a lot of recap, and this was before the age of. Let's remember, before the age of having that paragraph. Before at the beginning of an issue as a recap. In the comics, they tended to just recap within the comic itself, so you get a lot of repetitive, I guess storytelling, and over these 6 issues, that's absolutely the case as well. Rick, you are a massive fan of the 90s. We have covered that as well. A big Dark Hawk fan. You do like your Night Thrasher as well, yeah?
Oh yeah, for all the wrong reasons.
I don't want to go there. I won't touch that. But have you got? Because you're a big figure collector as well. Do you have a Hasbro of? I know you have it of Dark Hawk. How about any of the others?
Surprisingly, I don't think there's any for Night Thrasher.
Oh, how about Nova? Do you have Nova?
Nova, though.
Sorry. What was that?
I think they did have a Nova one come out with the Guardians of the Galaxy line, I think.
Oh, yes.
A couple years ago.
I think so, yeah. But, I mean, that Darkhawk one's pretty impressive. I'm sure you've got a Spider-Man one, yeah? And a Punisher one, surely.
And or a Punisher.
You do have Punisher? Sorry. What was that, Rick?
Spider-Man or a Punisher.
Yes. Yeah, well, this should be right up your alley then. Let's get right in it. Loony's The Phase of the Moon, it's a waxing gibbous, as mentioned. So we are obligated by Khonshu to cover a trade arc review as per following the phases of the moon. So, Josh, would you mind giving us the credentials or credits for this? Like where it's available on as well?
Yeah, you can pretty much. I know that there is an Epic collection that is named after this.
Mm-hmm.
So it's just called. It's the 22nd volume, which is titled Round Robin.
Mm-hmm.
It has issues number 351 to 360, and also some of the annuals.
Mm-hmm.
So Amazing Spider-Man Annual 25, Spectacular Spider-Man Annual 11, and Web of Spider-Man number 7. I know that there is it does have its own trade paperback too. You can find. I've seen it.
Okay.
And yeah, I think it's one of the ones. I think it was released actually in the 90s.
Oh, okay.
So you can probably find that somewhere, probably.
Yeah.
And then you can find these issues probably at your comic book stores, probably.
Mm-hmm.
And then so this was released from November to December of 1991.
Mm-hmm.
Written by Al Milgrom. Artist is the great Mark Bagley.
Mm-hmm.
Colors is Bob Sharen. Letterer Joe Rosen. And editor is Danny Fingeroth.
Excellent. And as you know, as we are sentimental of sorts, for trade reviews, we're trying to reinstill, I guess, the old Over the Moon format as well. So we have a bit of a bare bones here, and it's courtesy of the Comic Vine wiki page. Because let's face it, 6 issues, I didn't have enough time to write it all myself. But this is a pretty good synopsis of the issues in hand. So I'll let Josh take it away to begin with. Josh, give it a go.
All right, yeah. So the story opens with Midnight, Moon Knight's old sidekick, fighting a group of martial artists in front of the Secret Empire. They have turned him into a cyborg to use as a weapon for their organization. Meanwhile, Peter Parker is with Mary Jane at Aunt May's house, and he decides to go for a swing around town. At the same time, Chris Powell, aka Darkhawk, is visiting his father's old police precinct when Midnight bursts through the wall. He is there to free Elliot Franklin, aka Thunderball. Chris changes to Darkhawk and they take the fight outside. Meanwhile, Punisher is questioning a thug in an alley about the Secret Empire. Spidey stumbles upon Darkhawk and Midnight fighting and joins in, but Midnight escapes with Elliot by threatening the lives of a group of spectators. But Spider-Man and Darkhawk save the onlookers from Midnight's attack, though he managed to escape. Luckily, Spider-Man got a tracer onto him before he did. Midnight returns to the Secret Empire with Elliot and is annoyed they are not more grateful for his work. Meanwhile, Spider-Man asks Captain America to help him get in contact with Moon Knight, and he informs him of Midnight's return. With the Secret Empire wanting to recruit superpowered beings, Midnight approaches Nova, but Spider-Man shows up and they all end up fighting. Again, Midnight escapes his target, leaving Spidey with 2 latecomers, Moon Knight and Night Thrasher.
Moon Knight takes Spider-Man and Night Thrasher after Midnight upon his mooncopter, following him with the spider tracer that was planted on him into the secret hidden Empire entry with a still unconscious Nova, but not without Punisher spotting him. And the Punisher says they blew his cover as they are surrounded by hidden Empire soldiers until Midnight reappears. The Seekers also show up and they distract the heroes while Midnight makes an escape. Midnight returns to the Secret Empire's main headquarters and they discover the Spider Tracer, destroying it, about adding some more upgrades to him. Meanwhile, Lynn Church secretly asks a tactician device into Midnighter's spine when he's doing the upgrades. Sabotages the Empire's jamming signal, and Nova manages to get the message out to the Thrasher. Triangulates the signal, and they locate the secret Empire's HQ. Punisher stays behind as he is too weak from the last fight. Way through the countless Empire soldiers. Meanwhile, Lynn informs Midnight that she disabled the pain inducer while they were operating on him, and he takes the opportunity to take the lead on the Empire. Heroes, but is damaged in the process and flees. The Empire flees in the ship, and when Moon Knight and the others return to the copter, they discover Punisher is missing, and assuming he sneaked aboard the Empire's ship.
Spider-Man, Moon Knight, and Night Thrasher decide to head to their respective homes while they wait for word from Punisher or Nova. Meanwhile, Punisher is aboard the Empire ship, disguised as Number 3, though he's still woozy from the energy leech. He manages to find Nova and cut the power to his bonds. He then heads to a meeting with Midnight and the others. Nova escapes, setting off an alarm in the process, but calls Thrasher, who then calls the others. They all arrive at the Empire base and battle. The heroes are getting the upper hand until Lynn reveals that she too is a cyborg. In the final battle, Lynn reveals that she was simply using Midnight as a guinea pig for her own upgrades, much to Midnight's dismay. The Seekers soon arrive to add even more heat to the fire. Towards the end, only Spider-Man and the 2 cyborgs remain, with Thunderbolt watching from the sidelines. They get the better of Spider-Man, but Lynn reveals that she has a pain inducer for Midnight and uses it against him. She is stopped by Thunderbolt, but Midnight lashes out, destroying the support columns for the warehouse. The heroes recover just in time to escape, though Lynn and Midnight are crushed by the rubble. Yes, so that was, in a compact version, what happened over a span of 6 issues here. Look, I'm just going to throw it out there first. Rick, what did you think of this whole arc in general?
It was really entertaining.
Mm-hmm.
But
Yeah.
I do feel it went a bit too long, in my opinion.
Okay. Yeah. Actually, I thought that first myself. Like in my my memory, it was like a really long arc, and then going back, I was surprised it was only 6 issues, which we know is a standard like 6-issue arc, which they do these days to bundle up in trades. In my memory, I thought it was a lot longer, so I had the opposite when I reread it. When I first read it, very much like you, Rick. How about yourself, Josh?
Oh, well, I've said that this is like my favorite arc of all time. Mostly because of, not mostly, but partially because of nostalgia. Because when I was on my first episode, I was on with you, that I said how issue number 356, which is part 4 of this, was one of the first comics I ever bought.
Yeah.
So I have some nostalgia for that, and then I went back and bought all these. So I've had this arc for going on 15 years now. Yeah. I've read it so many times, so yeah. I think just one of those things where it's burned into me, so yeah. I will always have a love for it.
I think you're lucky as well that, you're saying nostalgia, but you've picked a really solid arc to fall into, like when you said you got 356, say. Just because, Mark Bagley's art, I've got to say, this is my favourite sort of Mark Bagley art. The Amazing Spider-Man era and the New Warriors era, so early 90s. He's just fantastic. And I'm not sure if it's him and the inker that make it so, but it's just so clean and crisp, and it's just really nice to look at. And this story is fun as well. It's there's a lot of action. You can't deny that there's any shortage of action. But it's also very, I was about to say very... it's of its time, but then I'm reminded that you have the likes of, Ghost Rider issues out there. You have like Punisher issues out there, and it's kind of not like this. So I wonder if it's just Al Milgrom and his quirkiness, because it's very quirky, I find. You know, like, the amount of puns in this whole arc is hilarious. I was kind of cataloguing them. I don't know if you guys, like, just were overwhelmed with the puns. Like,
Had a pun sheet ready.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Like, it's straight off the bat. Like, in the first issue, you got Darkhawk, and we thought Spider-Man did all the puns. It's actually coming from everyone else. Spider-Man has kind of a few puns here and there, but most of them come from Midnight and Darkhawk, and even the Punisher as well. So Darkhawk, he meets Midnight, and the first thing he says is, "Don't have a stroke," you know. Boom, boom. You can almost hear. You can almost hear it. And not only that, but the panel after Midnight, and this is what I find hilarious. They are aware of their puns and they comment about it afterwards. So Midnight's going, "Stroke of midnight, huh? Where do you superheroes get your materials? Puns are us." It's just this really crazy banter, which I don't think you'll find these days, unless of course you're in a Deadpool comic or maybe a Spidey comic still. But it's crazy, and like, you know, only a couple of panels after, Midnight is hurling a hunk of asphalt at Darkhawk, and Darkhawk says, "If only I knew what a quip meant, equipment." That's it. Yeah, it
sounds so dumb when you hear it out loud than when you're reading it.
Yeah, it's so bad. It's hilarious. So yeah, I'm loving the puns, and the action's just really, really cool as well. What do you guys think of, Rick, say, depictions of your favourite characters? Any standouts for you? Because there's a huge cast here.
Oh yeah. See, Moon Knight's the obvious one.
Mm-hmm.
But honestly, even though Darkhawk's not in it much, he's done really well.
Yeah. He pops up in the first issue, then I think he pops up again in the 5th issue, so he disappears for a bit. But of course, I'm no surprise that you picked Darkhawk there, which is fantastic. Josh, how about yourself? Any favourite depictions?
I mean, I kind of like all of them, really, because this whole arc kind of set my kind of fandom for all these characters.
Yeah.
So these are all like the top-notch depictions of all of them for me.
Yeah.
But if I had to pick one, I think I'd actually say Night Thrasher.
Yeah, he is fleshed out a little bit in this, isn't he? Like, he does get a bit of a meat in the script. Why so? Was it because he's brooding, or?
I think he's. I partially because I really like his look. I think like his armor looks really cool.
Yeah.
And his his helmet I think is really cool.
Mm-hmm.
But also he's like he's kind of always like just set on the mission, and he kind of doesn't really care how it gets done. But like, so he has like this mission to basically save Nova from the Secret Empire.
Yeah.
And he kind of doesn't really care. There's even one instance where he's willing to almost get crushed by a door to try to get through it.
Yes.
Granted, it's a good thing he doesn't, but...
Yeah. Yeah, he has to be pulled back by Spidey because he just got kind of blinkered by trying to save his mate Nova. And it's alluded to as well that they had a little bit of a... Well, Nova says that they're building fences, so their relationship, Nova and Night Thrasher, within the New Warriors was tenuous anyway at best, but you see the loyalty, I guess, that Night Thrasher has for his teammate, which is good, and it just runs throughout this whole... That is one of the threads that runs throughout this whole story. I mean, the main one, obviously, is, for our eyes, is Moon Knight kind of coming to terms with his sidekick, like the sidekick's revenge, and then there's also, I guess, the Punisher trying to take on the Secret Empire as well. I don't know. I like the Punisher's involvement in here, and although he's not the Punisher Max by any means, he still keeps his dark edges. And I found a little inconsistency though, because there's there's like inconsistencies aplenty, but did you pick up as well, like, the Punisher seems to only have respect for Night Thrasher, and he calls all the others, soft-headed bozos, but I thought he and Moon Knight were pretty, close-knit. I mean, both having, military training. I would have thought, the Punisher would have had more of a aligning with Moon Knight than a rich teenager, basically, in a lot of suits. So I was unfamiliar. I think there was... Sorry, Rick?
When I was reading it, I noticed that our Punisher was completely different. It was focusing more on Night Thrasher instead of like Moon Knight, how their personalities are. I'm like, that's not right. That's a bit weird.
Yeah.
Well, I think because if you've read the New Warriors, I think in issues like 7 through 9, Punisher is like a guest star in there. And Punisher and Night Thrasher go at each other, and Night Thrasher pretty much beats the Punisher until Punisher pulls a gun and shoots him right in the stomach.
Oh, wow.
So like they go toe to toe, and Night Thrasher pretty much almost comes out on top.
Right.
So I think there's a little bit of respect there. And I mean, they do end up teaming up to take down I forget who it is. I think is it Bengal? I think, who's like some sort of assassin or something.
Yeah. Yeah. Right.
And also, in the round robin prelude, Moon Knight and Punisher, like, they fight each other 3 times within 2 issues. So I don't think they will ever get along.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. No, that's true. And I was thinking, there was a reference to the New Warriors issues in this about. So yeah, there must be a fresh, interaction between Punisher and Night Thrasher. I was just thinking, Josh, I was just going through my head there. So the round robin prelude, like, as titled by yourself from the Mark Spector. So that was pre-91, was it? It must have been.
Yeah, that.
Okay.
That was. I think that was. That must have been a couple months before, not too much.
Yeah. Because
this came out. Sorry, go ahead.
No, that's right. This came out 91.
November. I think the other one came out. I think it came out early 91, I think.
Okay. Because, Punisher and Moon Knight, they do clash more than once as well. There's that really cool, I think it's a Punisher annual, right? With that pink cover with Moon Knight and Punisher. I wonder if that is after this. And then there's the Blood Brothers in Mark Spector, which is later on, which I'm assuming is after this. And Punisher and Moon Knight. Again, they always seem to fight for a little bit, and then they make up. And actually, having said that, Spider-Man calls it out here as well. Not Punisher and Moon Knight, but he says something along the lines of, as popular as it is for heroes to fight each other, I think we should just cool it. I think it was Moon Knight and Night Thrasher. And I just had to laugh at that as well because, we've seen that so many times and it culminated in Civil War and all that. But it is a very tropey thing for heroes to have a go at each other. So I thought that was pretty funny. Also, as well, the interactions between. Oh no, we've kind of covered that. I thought maybe also Al Milgrom's writing appears a little outdated. So we are in the early 90s, and I remember being a young fella in the early 90s. Look, I never used terms like dweeb and jive and all that. I think this is Al Milgrom's age showing, so it's obviously an older man trying to speak the hip new talk of the youth. But I guess that happens, constantly, doesn't it? Like even in today's comics.
Well, that's kind of a thing that's always happened in comics. I forget who I heard said it, but they were talking about even comics back in like the 60s or whatever, and they were saying how the like some of the lingo didn't work because it's like lingo from like the 40s being used in the 60s because it's 40-year-old guys writing books for 10-year-old kids.
I guess it's just natural that they do that as well. So talk about the characters. How about the villains? What do we think of Midnight? Rick, did you find him a formidable character?
Yes, I did, actually. Also, I want to say this now. I think his costume is really cool.
Yeah, I'd agree. Like, there are no pouches and there are no ponytails to be seen, so I'm happy. Like, you know.
That's a minus, though.
Yeah, but it's pretty slick, isn't it? I mean, even the face covering bit, you know, because I guess with costume design, you can create an identity by how the headgear kind of looks. You know, that's one of the main portions of design. It's very sleek, isn't it? It just all kind of...
And the yellow stood out the most.
Oh yeah, for sure. Really cool use. His eyes, right? You're talking about? Yeah.
Yes.
Oh yeah. Sorry. Yeah, really cool. I found the Seekers pretty funny. I just kept on thinking, the Seekers the band, and so I had the song "The Carnival Is Over" in my head every time that the Seekers made an appearance. But a pretty generic lot of armored villains, I'd say. Wouldn't you say, Josh?
Yeah, they made a couple other appearances. Actually, I was rereading this earlier today, and they actually made an appearance in an Iron Man issue. I went back and reread it, and yeah, they are kind of generic. They're kind of generic in there and here. They look cooler in this issue than they do the other ones. And the other ones, they look very big and clunky. This one, they look kind of sleek.
Yep.
So they look cooler in here, but they're kind of generic.
Are they all brothers? Because they allude two of them are at least brothers.
You know, I don't remember if they touched on it.
Oh, okay.
I don't remember.
Yeah, okay. Anyway, they're pretty. They pretty much come and go. They're very much villains for hire. I mean, they first come in just as a point of distraction to the heroes, and then as soon as that is accomplished, they piss off, which is really really cool. And then they turn up again when the heat is on towards the climax as well. One of my favourite scenes there is when the Punisher is up against the Sonic one, because the Punisher had a bit of a grudge against him because he gets his energy sapped from one of the energy leeches that Sonic deploys on him. But anyway, yeah, one of my favourite scenes is towards the end where I think it's Midnight accidentally, a bit of friendly fire, shoots Sonic and freezes him, and Punisher comes at him with a knife, and the guy's gone, oh shit, you know, I've got the eye slits, I'm open, he's gonna stab me in the eye. Punisher actually just flips it around, taps the suit, and it just crumbles. and then what I find hilarious is the guy. I think it's similar, Josh. We discussed this in your Isla Ra with the Iron Man stuff. Was that? Yeah, we did the Iron Man.
Yeah,
where he's just in his underwear, in his boxers. And so
yeah.
So he's just standing there, and then Punisher just bashes him, and he goes flying. It was pretty, yeah, it was a bit of over-the-top 90s goodness there, I thought. But, yeah.
I will,
Sorry?
I was say, just jumping back to Midnight real quick, I think that he's actually a pretty cool villain because just how formidable he is, because each time he fights them, he kind of has a new kind of power or a new advancement. So, like, at first he doesn't really have much. Then he gets like the jets, and he gets like the rays that shoot out, and then he gets like extend the arms, and then he has like the freeze beam and stuff. So I like that, how each time it's kind of something different. He has a different thing to fight them with.
Yeah, I like that moment where he's in freefall and Nova is trying desperately to save him, because we've seen in the first issue when Midnight tangles with Spider-Man and Darkhawk that he doesn't have any flying capabilities, but I like that moment where his jets come into play and he just starts flying, and you go, oh shit, okay, this guy can literally do anything, because he can be upgraded every now and again. But yeah, he's quite a cool villain, actually, and I'm glad we saw him later on in a very different capacity in the Houston run, a lot darker, a lot more savage, but he's a fun character. I couldn't quite get sold off his hatred for Moon Knight. I just put it down to him just not being a totally understanding sort of guy. He, like in that issue, he gets shot. Now, look, I don't know if memory serves me correct. I thought he jumped in the line to get shot by the Secret Empire to save Moon Knight. So he did a heroic thing. And that's when he died, in inverted commas. But then he kind of, in this whole arc, he blames Moon Knight for not trying to save him. Like, it's kind of like, you don't want to... Like, he did a good deed. Like, it's not like he's done that to expect something from Moon Knight, if that makes sense.
I think he did it... in this, the flashbacks show that he jumped in front of the blast. But in the actual story, he sort of jumps in front of Moon Knight, not to take the blast, but as in, I'm the one you want, not him.
Right, yes.
And then whichever the Secret Empire goon is, he just like, oh, okay, and then he just shoots him. Then I guess he's pissed off because when that happens, like the blast knocks Moon Knight off of the ship. I guess he's kind of pissed that he didn't come after him, even though he kind of did. But he was told, oh, he's dead. Yeah. I mean, he shouldn't have believed him, but... Yeah,
true. Well, I guess you're right as well. I think in the Moon Knight run, Midnight was a little unhinged anyway. I mean, you know how he stole Moon Knight's suit and he started parading around as Moon Knight, and he does get a little off center, I guess. So I guess it makes sense that he's a bit, and obviously having cybernetics kind of done to you, I guess plays with your mind as well. So he's probably a bit angry. That's fair enough. But sorry.
I was saying, and one more thing with Midnight too. I don't know if you guys kind of see it, but I see a lot of influence on the Winter Soldier from Midnight, both visually and story wise.
Right.
Because if you look at the Winter Soldier, I mean, at least in the movies, at least, he has the long hair. He has the mask that covers from the eyes down. Yeah. And they kind of look similar. And then obviously he has the mechanical advancements, the mechanical arm. Yeah. So I wonder if when they were coming up with that, I wonder if they took any inspiration from this, or if it's just a coincidence.
Yeah, possibly. I mean, for sure. I didn't make the connection with the Winter Soldier, but towards the end, I did notice that Midnight's hair was longer and more flowy, it's as you kind of see with Winter Soldier. But interesting point. It could well be. Midnight certainly has a lot more robotics kind of done to him as well. But absolutely. I'm not sure about his training. Oh, he just trained with Moon Knight, I guess. So that would be, his fighting abilities are fine. Also, Lynn Church is the other big villain. And what did everyone think? Rick, what did you think of that twist towards the end?
When first reading it as a child, get into that twist, it blew my freaking mind.
Yeah.
I see it, but it still works.
Yeah, it's cool, and she's got the same costume as Midnight as well, which kind of ties it. And I found she was good. I found hilarious. I mean, because I just looking back at this thing, I always take it with a little tongue in cheek. So I love these little touches. You know how there's that mystery leading up in issues 5 or something, and she reveals her face to some people. So do this, and put this in Midnight, and she reveals her face, and the guy goes, "Oh my god, yeah, okay, I will." Did anyone else laugh at the fact that I thought it was because she was showing some cybernetics, but it turns out she had a glowing forehead with the Secret Empire logo on it. I mean, I found that a bit hilarious myself. I thought come on, that's a bit weak. I would have much preferred she actually show her glowy cybernetic eyes or something like that. But yeah. Did you like Lynn? Josh, did you find her effective?
I thought she was fine. I mean, I guess it's kind of cool to see to have two kind of cyborgs, but I didn't think she added all that much to it. I except for the surprise twist. So it's kind of like an M. Night Shyamalan kind of twist thing. But I thought it was okay.
Yeah. Reading this, sorry, before doing the reread and just playing off my memory. Because obviously, I remembered, that Lynn was a cyborg and all that. Before I did the reread, I was thinking, that's a pretty quick and convenient like twist at the end. But rereading it, I think it's pretty good. She's actually set up quite well. I think from issues 4 onwards, where you start to see her do stuff like sabotage the operation and then this mystery about her face. I thought she was good. Look, I've got to say also as well, we have come leaps and bounds, haven't we, with I guess female characters in the comics, because I got a little conscious of the fact that Lynn is obviously a very strong character towards the end. She's a villain, albeit, but she goes toe to toe with the heroes. The only other female characters we get are MJ and Marlene. And towards the end of the arc, they're pretty much used just for devices for, I think, like for sex. I mean, did you get that as well? There was a lot of sexual innuendo about, you weren't complaining about my spider actions earlier. She goes, oh, yeah, but, don't be quiet about that. And then with Marlene, as Mark is talking to Khonshu, you just see a silhouette of her, like in a see-through negligee, and then he whisks her off, and obviously they're going off to the bedroom for a bit of squeaky velvet. But that I found that pretty much at the times, wasn't it? My favourite depiction of the female characters in this arc was actually Aunt May, because I had to laugh and laugh. I didn't realise she was a huge wrestling fan. Did you get that at the beginning? Like, she's glued to... Oh, yeah. Yeah. So it's, like, awesome. Like, so she's hanging out with MJ, and, like, MJ's bored out of her skull because Aunt May's bloody glued to the TV watching The Incredible Hunk, I think was the first one. I think that's so cool. But, yeah, I just, you compare this to a lot of the other... Like, a lot of the characters now, a lot of the strong female characters now, and it's really a sign of the time, I think.
Like, I guess looking back at it now, I never noticed.
Yeah, I didn't as well.
I was rereading it, I was like, oh dear, what is this?
Yeah, it's very apparent now, isn't it? But yeah, during the time, I guess, like when I was a young kid, you get your little bit of gratification because, there's a bit of rumpy-pumpy from Spider-Man and MJ just alluded to. It's like, oh yeah, so as a young teenage boy, I guess that that does it. But did you notice that at all, Josh?
Sorry.
Oh no, just I don't know. I don't know. I found it just apparent. Just the use of MJ and Marlene. Like Marlene is yeah.
Oh yeah. Definitely looking back, it's like they're pretty much only used just for them to wind down after a tough day, basically.
Yeah, which is strange because if you do look at the earlier, and again it might be just down to Al Milgrom, because if you look at the earlier Moon Knight, like Volume 1, and also Mark Spector Moon Knight, you see Marlene as a very strong character, and what's the term? The Deus Ex Machina for Moon Knight a lot of the time. So it might be Mr. Milgrom here with his his way of writing that kind of shines through. But yeah, very distinct, I think. And finally, not finally, but the other last point I had was you get not only a lot of the recap, but there was a lot of retelling. Like you get a lot of the history of Spider-Man, and then there's a little splash of Punisher's origin as well as then you get a lot of countless retellings of Night Thrasher and how his parents were murdered as well. So yeah, I found the narrative for that very repetitive, and not annoying, but it just was kind of like, yes, I've heard that already. Did you guys get that from doing the reread as well?
Oh yeah. See, for me, I think it's a double-edged sword.
Yeah.
Know these characters, I'll be like, oh god, let's get this over with. I don't care right now. I know all of this.
Yeah.
But let's say if you're just a Spider-Man reader.
That's true, yeah.
Discover these characters and they show off the origins. It makes you interested and makes you... and you buy the books and you invest in it.
Yeah. Oh yeah, definitely it's a big marketing tool. And it's an effective one as well. I mean, like, how many times during the 90s have you heard of Wolverine's unbreakable skeleton and unbreakable bones and his healing factor. I mean, that was like mentioned every time he spoke, which was kind of grating sometimes. But didn't faze you, Josh, in the reread?
No, I mean I still like it, but even like Rick was saying, like, yeah, you read this, like, if you're just picking this up as it comes to the newsstand, and you're only reading Spider-Man, you're seeing all the characters' origins, and it kind of gets you interested. Like, that's what happened. Like, that's how it got me, because I'm pretty much hooked on all these characters that are in this arc. If it wouldn't have been for them kind of showing some of that, I might not have been interested in it at all. Yeah. Plus, also, you got to think about that's also a way not only get you interested, but hey, what can we do to boost sales?
Yep.
Let's toss in some of that too, because considering I'm sure Spider-Man was outselling all the other ones. I'm sure all the ones that came out a little after this arc came out probably got a little bit of a boost too.
Yeah. It's surprising that they didn't do a crossover of sorts between the titles, because, again, marketing-wise, that would have really compelled people and exposed a lot of people to, say, the likes of the Punisher title. But I guess this flavour, I mean, look, if you look at the Punisher, or maybe just the Punisher at the moment, he's very much in Spidey's world here, isn't he? It's like, if you go into his titles, he's a very different character, I think. A little less so than what he is here. I mean, here, I'm looking at this, he's dressing down the thug here, and he's saying, he's correcting him on his grammar. I found that hilarious. Like, he's saying the thug, by using that double negative, you're saying you do know something, right? The Punisher would never do something like that, I think. He doesn't care about that sort of stuff. But he is ruthless here as well, but he's just a little bit on the friendly side, I'd say.
One of his days where he's just like, you know what, I'm just going to have fun with this.
Yeah.
Buff it.
Yeah, true. I mean, yeah, and if anything, Milgrom does a really good job, I think, of handling such a huge cast, right? Everyone gets their moment, Darkhawk as well, even though he was missing through at the middle. At the beginning and towards the end, he gets a nice chunk there as well. Everyone gets a fight. Everyone fights each other. It's really good. I think it was a really well balanced thing. If anything, and again, maybe this is my ignorance from Nova and the New Warriors, or forgotten because I used to collect the New Warriors. But Nova, I mean, if you're looking at power sets, he is off the charts compared to these guys. But I guess what Milgrom does is incapacitates him early on, so takes him out of the game. But look, he's still in there as well. So that's he's not exactly street level, isn't he? He's cosmic.
I think early in his career, I think he was mainly street level, because he hasn't reached that full potential yet.
Oh, okay. Because, yeah, he hung around Spidey a lot. I know that. I know there's that Tri-Sentinel arc in The Amazing Spider-Man that he features in as well. But, yeah, you're probably right. I mean, like, he's part of the New Warriors, so that is kind of street level. Any other points here, guys, that you'd like to talk about?
I think if we can just highlight just Moon Knight just a bit, I do think it's funny how you clearly can see how Moon Knight is pretty much he's not saying he's a team player, but if he's teamed up with somebody else, he'll almost always find a way to get into a fight with them. Because, like, in this one, like, him and Night Thrasher are sort of going at it for, like, half of the arc, basically. And, like, so in the prelude, him and Punisher were going at it. It's like...
Yeah.
Luckily, there's other...
Yeah.
I was going to say, luckily there's other people for them, but they both punch. They're not punching each other, because if not, I think they would have gone at it multiple times again.
Countless amount of Secret Empire thugs to beat up. A couple of, an army of them, which is... Yeah, true. I found, like, just going back to your point about Night Thrasher, I found him he was a bit of a troublemaker within the group as well. He was a bit surly, I thought, out of all the characters. And just as you say, he had a go at Moon Knight. Towards the end, he kind of warms to the Punisher, and they have their little bromance at the end there. See you later, big guy, and all that. But yeah, Moon Knight. I don't know. His depiction in this, it's even. I mean, because obviously he's a supporting cast member, but even like on the terms of Mark Spector level, Mark Spector Moon Knight depictions, didn't get too much of a sense of him. I thought it was really good just to see him in and amongst it, but again, one of the little comments I had to laugh at was him ruining the fact. I mean, how long has he been Moon Knight? And anyway, he goes, "Oh, if only my glider cape enabled me to actually fly." It's like you wouldn't say that out loud, would you, Moon Knight? Come on. It's quite interesting. I got a couple of last notes here as well. I thought it was a continuity error. Okay, so we have Midnight finding the spider tracer on his shoulder, and a little funny moment here. The Secret Empire people want to study it because it's a very innovative little toy, but Midnight just crushes it. Says, "I'll squash him just as easily as I do this little toy." And you hear one of the Secret Empire go, "Midnight, no, we want to study it." Oh well. And so they're too late to stop him from ruining the technology. I thought that was pretty funny. And anyway, what I was saying was, so he destroys the spider tracer, yet later on, when our heroes infiltrate the Secret Empire business, Spider-Man mentions, "I've got a bead on him, Thrasher. I can follow my tracer signal now that we're inside." That was after the tracer was destroyed. So, I think that's an error right there. Did anyone notice that as well?
I think you're pointing out, and I'm looking at the page. Yeah.
I'm trying to find where you're.
Oh yeah, sorry. I've only clipped these. I think it's in issue 5. And so Moon Knight, Night Thrasher, and Spider-Man are heading inside the Secret Empire building. If anything, it would be Night Thrasher zeroing in on Nova's helmet frequency, which is how they were tracing him in the first place. There's nothing to do with the spider tracer, but Spider-Man clearly says, "I can follow my tracer signal now that we're inside." So, just a little stuff up there.
I see it now.
Yeah. But anyway, I mean, apart from that, I'm just being a pedantic idiot. It was a pretty fun story. And just a little final thing. At the end of issue 2, I'm just going to leave it there. The last words spoken by Spidey, and he just says, "I'm generally on a first-name basis with anyone who attacks me from behind." So there you go. A little bit of juvenile humour there from yours truly. So... Anyway, if there are no other notes, guys, do you want to give this a rating overall?
Okay.
I will give this a full moon.
Full moon. Alrighty. Okay. No messing about with you, Rickball. Full moon. Excellent. Absolutely. What in summation, what were the main points that gave you this full moon rating?
Just a fun story. Sometimes you'll get like sometimes in a time where it's like full of offense, like serious storytelling, all that stuff. You just want to go relax, read like a fun story of all your favorite characters, just having fun.
Yeah. It didn't ever seem like there were huge stakes here. I mean, although there was death, a death here and there, and people out looking to kill each other. It didn't really seem, you're right. There never seemed to be any weight or heaviness to it. So, yeah.
Nice one-off filler.
Yeah. A one-off six-issue filler. Josh, how about yourself?
I'm going to give it a full moon also.
Excellent. And main points?
Sort of kind of like what Rick said. Like I said, it's a fun story. You have all your different kind of characters, but also just for me, this is like the basis of my entire like comic collecting. Mm-hmm. Because like the first like big arc that I read, so I kind of compare every other thing that I read sort of kind of this, because this is what really got me into it. Like I said, it got me into all these characters because Hello?
Oh, sorry, you're breaking up there.
Oh, okay, sorry.
That's all right.
Okay, I'll just I forget where I was at, but I'll just.
This was the basis of your collecting.
Okay, yeah, it was like so it's the basis of like all my collecting, and like got me into like all these characters. Like if I wouldn't have read this, I wouldn't have got into Moon Knight and like Night Thrasher, Darkhawk. Like I got like all of their runs from that time, and I kind of just compare this to kind of like every other thing I read because this is like the high point of everything that I've read. And the art, Mark Bagley's art is like the high point of like my favorite art too. And so I kind of compare everything like that. So along with it just being like a fun story, it basically it's the high point of my my comic collecting.
Yeah.
So
awesome.
And nostalgia too.
Yeah, no, great. That's a great mix, especially to have for comic books. I do the same with nostalgia. There's some issues, some arcs that I love that are really quite innocuous. You know, that they don't have any bearings. Similar to what you say, Rick. They could be filler arcs, but that nostalgia value is really important, and it's a very personal thing. Look, I'd agree with both of you as well. I'd give it a full moon, a good full moon. The art was phenomenal. I just, cannot stress enough how much I love Mark Bagley's art in general. And at that time, I mean, I've seen some of his more recent art, which is still good, but I don't know. It could be that nostalgia factor that makes this a lot more stronger for me than his more recent stuff. I just love the characters, the interaction with all of them. They were all handled really well. You get a nice, it's not often you get such a huge team up. And the stakes weren't high, as you say, Rick. There's plenty of action. I've said it again. I've said it many times. I'll say it again. I'm a big action guy, so I just love the action. This is the sort of action that you love and I love, and sometimes you don't see these days, where they actually kind of, for want of a better word, you go into detail with the action. You see these fights up close, and you see them through with all the different characters. Yeah, and that's really cool. And I miss that sometimes in a lot of today's comics. So a big full moon for me as well. It's just it just rocked actually, and I loved it. I love this arc as well. And I don't mind that Moon Knight. Let's face it, he does take a little bit of a back seat, even though he is instrumental to basically the title of the arc. Sidekick's Revenge. It really much hinges on Moon Knight and his sidekick Midnight. But he does take a little bit of a back seat, but it was good to see the likes of Night Thrasher kind of shine through. I love Punisher infiltrating the Secret Empire as number 3. That was very smart. Punisher doing his thing. And just all of them in general were pretty good. So, full moon all round. So, Loonies, if you haven't got it yet, you can pick it up on digital, Marvel Unlimited, and as Josh alluded to earlier, it's available on trade, but more recently on Epic Collection, so that should be readily available for you if you want to give this a go. Right, well, we are going to have to wrap this up soon. Just with Mooney missives, we had a small email here. Rick, do you want to take this one? This was from a Loony who sent an email through to ITK. We don't get many emails, but it was always fun to get feedback, and we love to shout them out on the show. So could you read this out one?
Sure thing.
Yep.
Dravers, and he wrote, I noticed something in an episode of the latest Iron Fist on Netflix that made me think they were working on a Moon Knight series in the near future. Is there a way I can send you an attachment to look at and see what you think? Thanks, Drew. Yep. This was on the wall of the Crane Sisters tattoo parlor. I know it represents a crane, but it is very similar to the bird skull of Moon Knight.
Yeah, so this actually, there was a lot of discussion within our ITK group. Josh, you're familiar with this, obviously, having watched the season, and you've seen this bandied about?
Oh, I saw it right away.
Yeah.
I took a picture of it. I was gonna post it up, but it was like the day after it came out.
Oh, right, yeah.
So I was like, I don't want to spoil anything just yet.
Yeah. You haven't seen it, Rick?
Sounds really cool.
Yeah, look, I think it's a bit of... It could well be a nod to Khonshu. I reckon it's just more of the crane, like the crane bird skull, because it's from the Crane Sisters tattoo parlor. But, we'll post the picture up. I'm sure it's up there on the Facebook group there, Rick. Have a look and judge for yourself. I think someone's even time-stamped it as well, so you can even if you don't want to watch the whole season, Rick, just go to that episode and go to that timestamp, and you can see it. But it's pretty cool. Even if it's a nod, I think it's pretty cool. So good pickup, Drew. We have many watchful eyes in the Loony community. So Drew picked that up, but a few other Loonies were quick to snap that up, just like you, Josh, as well. All right, well, we probably will have to wrap this up now, guys. I just, before I go, I want to thank you so much. Thank you, Rickball Special, and thank you, Geronimo, Josh, for coming on the show to discuss this awesome arc. It's been a pleasure, and you guys are welcome anytime.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Yeah, cool. Absolutely. You can catch these guys also in our Loony community as well. So, you guys are pretty active in the group. So, if anyone wants to have a chat with Josh or Rick, just hit them up in that group. Rick, I know you're also in the Loony bin as well. We have a chat room. You can find the link on our group. Just that's a 24/7 chat room. But hit them up for some questions. Hassle them about the round robin arc that we've just discussed. Josh, can I throw it to you for our next phase?
Okay, so the next phase is going to be a waning gibbous. Well, actually, we got to have the Moon Knight number 199 by Max Beers and Paul Davidson. So that's going to be coming up soon. And also, because it's the waning gibbous, it's going to be another Isle of Ra, which you mentioned earlier. You're going to have Phil Parrish from Capes and Lunatics on. Yeah, that so that will come out maybe like 1 or 2 days after our episode, which will be episode 63 of Moon Knight 199. So that should be a cracker as well. Finally, you can find us, dear Loonies, on email itkmoonnight@gmail. We have a website, intothenightpodcast.wordpress.com. There's Facebook, facebook.com/itkmoonnight, and a Facebook group, which is fantastic, facebook.com/groups/itkmoonnight. Also on Twitter, our handle is @itkmoonnight, and we're on Instagram, Tumblr, and YouTube. Just search for Into the Night, a Moon Knight podcast. Finally, we are on all good podcast catchers, so just take your pick. Whatever is your poison will be on there. Once again, a big thank you to the guys. A big shout out also again, thank you Noel for the music, which will be featured in this episode and in subsequent episodes. Hope you liked also their latest single, Dr. Jonathan Osterman. Check them out, they're really cool. And how about Rickball? Would you like to sign us off, please?
May Khonshu watch over the denizens of the night.
Cool, catch you later.
Moon Knight and affiliated characters, stories and events are properties of Marvel Characters Incorporated. Materials used and discussed within the podcast are intended for critique and review purposes only under the fair dealing concept of the current Copyright Act. The views, information, or opinions expressed during the podcast are solely those of the individuals involved and do not necessarily represent those of the copyright owners.